Well, the data is staggering but not surprising. We've already always known that the levels of expenditure during the political party campaign season have been so extraordinary that it had implications for when political parties get into government, because subsequently they have to raise money to pay off all their debtors. And so those are reasons why there have been discussions on limiting the political campaign season, looking at political party financing and seeing whether we can have some ceilings and thresholds and do traceability on who provides money. Because if they are compromised, for example, if this financing is done by criminal groups, then you get into government and you are compromised because they begin to call the shots. So it has very serious implications for us as a country. The amounts are just mind-boggling, and it's an issue we need to seriously come to grips with and address.
Senanu, clearly, one would ask, how really feasible is it to be able to implement a cap on such campaign spendings in Ghana political system? Looking at the fact that, look, every year now and then, we seem to be talking about monetization in our election system, and looking at the amount involved here is worrying just as you place it. But is it really feasible to able to place a cap in election system here in Ghana?
It is absolutely possible. I mean, there are two or three suggestions. I alluded to one. So you have the situation where by the time you get to the middle of the 4-year cycle, when we start entering year 3, you find that governments begin to start going around the various regions. Ostensibly, they are doing development, but really, for them, campaign has started. And that's part of why you end up with such a gargantuan figure. If we limited political party campaign seasons to, say, 6 months, the year of election, you start in July up to the December 9th or whatever it is, that already prescribes the likelihood that individuals and groups go spending money and therefore incurring a debt that must be paid off. So first of all, we don't have that at the moment, a defined political season. We need to make sure we have a political campaign season defined in law, and that's one. The second one is fixing caps, individuals, corporates. This is a ceiling. So we say an individual can only give, let's say, not more than 5,000 Ghana. A corporate entity can give, let's say, not more than 50,000 Ghana. What that means is that it is the quality of your manifesto that would then canvas more support in terms of funding, and you need to keep the data on that. So you raise enough, you raise the amount you raise is what then you utilize for the campaign season, and you cannot spend more than what you raise for the season. So there are ways in which we can tackle this intelligently to get good results.
I would also want to pick your thought on the former chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Madam Charlotte Osei, who is now called for the amendment of Ghana's Assets Declaration. And interestingly, conversations have really come up about that. But I don't know if you really share of the view that, we should be able to transfer assets declaration functions from the Auditor Generals, to rather scratch. And why do you think that should be done, according to what the former chairperson of the Electoral Commission is saying, and also listening to the former Auditor General, Mr. Yaw Domelevo? Where do you also belong here as an anti-corruption campaigner?
Well, fortunately, I've been part of the CRC setting for today. So I was there when these comments were made. Mr. Domelevo explained that, look, their function as an audit, there's a lot of work already involved in trying to get institutions to report on finances they've received that has been expended and the following. And they even have institutions that are unwilling sometimes to subject themselves to this. That adding the part of looking at assets, and at the point we're talking about comprehensive verification of the assets, which means that there must be an officer who receives, opens the envelope, looks at what is there, and spends time to do due diligence to confirm that these assets exist and we don't have much more or much less than what is there. And then beyond that, we are talking about full publication. so that any citizen who has information can also cross-check. And his point was that, look, we're already stretched in dealing with our auditing functions. This traditionally is not part of what we do. We think it should be taken elsewhere. I think it's a valid point. Now, the issue of sending it to Traj is because Traj has the administrative justice and the ombudsman role. And so it makes some sense to say, can Traj take up this responsibility of cross-checking that indeed persons who have been so appointed, and in the Constitution it actually says that you cannot take office until you are satisfied the submission of your assets. Can we have a different body that has the capacity to then do the due diligence and clear people that yes, you satisfied this before they get into office? So the thinking behind it, I think, is legitimate and it's a fair proposal to make.
Mr. Senanu, finally, before I let you go, the president may or charge his appointees that, look, by March 31, all appointees must be able to declare the assets. As it stands now, we do not know how that since that charge, is looking like. Does it call for a worry, actually?
Well, yes, there are a number of issues there. I think that the presidency itself needs to keep that data because once you have said that you're going to make sure your appointees do the right thing, and it was part of the discussions today that let's have the key persons in each of the branches of government. So the president has to ensure that his appointees have done this, and constitutional is actually even before they take office. The president should have a system in place to have them file copies of whatever it is with him, or at least some indicative roster or documentation to say, I have gone, I have submitted and sign off, etc. So that the presidency is in a position to report to the citizens of this country that, yes, my appointees have done this, and can have that cross-checked with the, let's say, the Auditor General in this instance. And same for the Chief Justice and also for the Speaker. So I think it's important that they keep documentation, monitor whether the appointees are doing it, because it is a reflection of the president's own commitment to the people. And so he has an interest in making sure that the right things are done.
We appreciate we could speak with us this evening, Edem Senanu.